This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about A Woman is a Woman from 1961, directed by Jean-Luc Godard, and we're joined by Patreon co-host regular Frank Solano.
Mm-hmm.
Oui. So there's no tagline for the film, RJ, but we do have a succinct synopsis from Letterboxd.
Okay.
Longing for a baby, a stripper pursues another man in order to make her boyfriend jealous.
That's kind of like the synopsis for Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Yeah, or maybe it's like those deleted scenes that
Right.
the Spielberg thought, maybe I won't include this thing with Laura Dern.
Right. I think that's probably the right choice.
I think so.
That's probably one of the shortest ones we've had ever.
It's got to be. It's got to be one of the shortest, and it's so blunt. It's so to the point. But is it inaccurate?
No, it's pretty descriptive. I think it's pretty fair. What do you think, Frank? It's pretty good.
I think if we all believe hard enough, somebody will fix it.
We've been trying to do that for years, dude. Nobody listens to us.
Nobody believes.
No one believes. Well, I mean, one could just step in there, go onto themoviedb.org, and fix her up.
Yeah, but would you?
I don't care.
Not us.
I've fixed Wikipedia pages, but this is beyond my pay grade.
I used to care more one time. That'll being said, what do we got here, lads? We got here his, I guess, second movie, his second real movie. If you include if
chronologically,
so there's I guess it's like this is his follow up to Breathless, which is a movie that we have not talked about yet because it hasn't come up in the Criterion Collection. But everyone here has seen Breathless, correct?
I own it, but I've never seen it.
Oh, you've never actually seen it? Okay.
I own it.
Okay, I believe you.
Which is cool.
That's fine. That's almost as good as having seen the movie. You own it.
Yeah, I own it.
No.
But that's not going to come up for 3 years?
It's a ways away for us, at least that long. So Godard, we've had Frank on before talking about Godard. We talked about Band of Outsiders way back when. We've talked about Alphaville. We've talked about Contempt. And I guess you could say it's like a 50-50 type of proposition with Godard at this point.
Sure.
For me, for my Godardian stuff, my taste kind of runs toward the formal side of things, where it's I love looking at his color movies and his, I don't know, Breathless, the first time I ever watched it, I thought was amazing. The second time I watched it, I was like, man, this movie kind of stalls out with these scenes of characters talking in apartments. And then you start, as I've watched more Godard movies since then, because at that point I'd only seen Breathless and Breathless Again. Now I've seen some more. I was always like, oh,
Breathless Again, is that the sequel?
Breathless Again, starring Richard Gere.
I would watch that movie.
Well, you can.
Sounds good.
Look it up. Breathless starring Richard Gere.
All right. I'll take your word for it. Okay, continue.
So anyway, this is the one that had been on my radar for a long time, and a friend of mine said that I would not like it because it is a musical of sorts. And I was always kind of well, what does that mean? It was it's not really a musical. It's kind of an anti-musical. And I was like, okay. I mean, I totally kind of forgot about that for a really long time until starting to watch this movie. And then I started noticing the use of sound that this movie deploys. So that all being said, so what's this A Woman is a Woman about? So this movie stars Anna Karina. This is Godard's main squeeze, his special lady friend that he winds up making.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. So this movie's a lot it gets a little weird when you start reading about Godard's personal life stuff when it came to Anna Karina and kind of how he treated her and like how he makes these movies about her. So I mean like Vivre sa vie I think is like absolutely the one time I've seen it, I think that movie is incredible, and I think it brings together all the Godardian things that I like in a very cool, succinct way that I feel like a woman is working toward, I guess.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So, what is this movie? Well, this movie is basically a lot of shots, a lot of photography of Anna Karina doing things because the camera loves her, because she's this like incredibly photogenic, like very charismatic presence, and he knew that, and boy does he exploit the shit out of that fact and just like puts her into the movie because it's like, yeah, people are going to watch it because she's got that like this like ridiculous eyes that just like pop. She's like stylish. She fits the era of like these like 1960s like of femininity, where it's kind of like sexy and cute all at once. And you put like beautiful red dresses or sailor outfits or whatever the fuck, have her hair up and down, tossing around, and her having arguments with her shitty boyfriends about having a baby, because that's what she's all about in this movie. This movie kind of like starts off with her kind of day-to-day life. She stops by a magazine, or no, she stops by a coffee shop, and she's making eyes at a guy. She waits to have a cappuccino or whatever. It's our European style coffee. It's too hot, and she kind of leaves it. But this is not before looking directly at the camera, because it's one of those kinds of movies where the movie kind of pauses almost and lets you say, "Hey, I know you're watching." And then she goes out walking down the street, and you have this like beautifully designed like color coordinated scene of like these red and blue buildings, and then you see like little old ladies walking around with like perfectly matched red and blue jackets, and that's just like nothing. It means nothing to the movie at all except for like its pure style and like this kind of like language of Godard movies. You're like, man, this is so good. And this is even like before that you get the amazing Godard font and colors and like for the credits that are like non-credits, like they're almost descriptive of like, you have to like think about what the credits are about, because he's like saying, yeah, what are credits? He is
What are they, Jarrett?
He is an artist, RJ. You'll figure it out. He assumes the audience has the intelligence to decipher what he's going on. They're out of order. Sometimes it's the last name followed by like a expression of what the movie's going to be about. And it goes about that business. It's a real deconstruction of the form throughout. You'll have scenes where like she's walking down the street and then the traffic sound cuts right out, making you know you are watching a movie. Don't forget, you are watching actors perform in front of you. And so you go, okay, that's all well and good. I can watch movies like this. I enjoy movies like this. But you're like, okay, so what kind of story is he going to tell? And this is maybe where things get complicated and kind of weird. Where
problematic?
Well, we'll let people decide. So this is a movie about a woman who it's revealed kind of like as she goes into her job that, oh, she is an erotic dancer. And you get to see some scenes of like, because she's in this like restaurant bar. And then you see like this woman just walking around. You're like, whoa, what's her story? What's she doing? And you're like, wait a minute. Now she's getting dressed, and now she's in the back. And you're like, oh, she's also a performer. And we get a dance number, and you find out it's like, oh, okay. And so she does a song and dance number without music, with her just singing. And then when she finishes singing, the music plays, and then it cuts out. So it's like this raw like experience that I think is kind of somewhat influential in the way some people have done these, like, you know, Woody Allen did Everyone Says I Love You, which was like this stripped down musical with like non professional performers doing just songs. Dancer in the Dark, I feel like has like elements that like kind of are descendant of Godard, but like they're still like, but like doing it in a very different way. So yeah, this is a story about a woman who wants to have a baby, and she wants to go about it any way that she wants. Her boyfriend won't give her, and so she starts playing these two guys against one another, and these are kind of punctuated by long extended scenes of dialogue in apartments, just like we've seen in Breathless, like we've seen in Contempt, of these like moments, and like there's sometimes text that comes across the screen saying what they're each thinking. Not a narrator, like you'd hear in something like Band of Outsiders, I guess, where like someone's like kind of like poetically stating what's going on. This is like, again, an exploration of like what you can do with the medium, I guess, and like how you can express this story. But again, it comes down to like, well, what is the story that's being told? And I would say that at the end of the day, I find that this is the subject matter that Godard's gone with, and it's like he's using his character, his actress, his muse, his Anna Karina, in this weird possessive way, and he's telling the story about her like this, where she's kind of going along with it, and you're kind of like, that's kind of weird. And it's kind of like, it's just because I mean, I kept thinking about like, there are people nowadays, especially, they talk about Alfred Hitchcock and like how his films, like he's very like weirdly possessive of the female actresses, of the leads, and like he does these bad things to them. And but he wasn't aware of his predilections necessarily. People talking about him like doing things, making them like uncomfortable on set, as far as like, you know, doing scenes over and over again, kind of being like subtly sadistic. And I wonder, I'm like, well, Jean-Luc Godard would be like, I'm totally aware of what I'm doing, and that makes it okay, I think. And I go, huh? Like, it's just like, it's just such a strange subject matter. And I mean, with
Sure.
So I don't know. I love looking at this movie. I jumped for joy when I started watching this, and I saw it was only 90 minutes long, because it feels like a very long time since we've seen anything that was 90 minutes long. And they've all been like 2.5 hour, 3 hour behemoths. And it's like, will this ever stop? Does everything have to be like longer than need be? And finally, here's a 90-minute movie. And this movie very much feels like kind of a slight film, because it's so stripped down. It's like literally about these like three characters and their dialogue exchanges that are like not really even about the dialogue exchanges. It's like the idea of these conversations being had, which, I mean, for some that's good enough, because maybe they're like, yeah, I'm beyond like dramaturgy, I'm beyond like characters actually having these conversations. But I don't know if I am. I kind of like these like exchanges in a genuine way, and without like maybe the Godardian remove, the aesthetics of Godard kind of like being the thing. So I don't know, I'm kind of in a weird place with this movie myself. A movie that I had never seen before. I've just been delaying on and on and on. And it's also because Studio Canal owns the rights to this movie. The DVD and Blu-ray of this have been out of print for ages, and it was on the Criterion channel up until probably about the beginning of the month, where it suddenly disappeared right in time for when we needed to watch it for this very week. So that was fun.
I checked a week ago, because I was like, that movie's still on there, right? And I was like, oh, good. And then August 2nd, I go to try to watch this fucking thing, and it's gone. And I go, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? And then I know Oliver was talking about the channel before, so I was talking to him about it, and he was like, well, apparently on Reddit, all the Anna Karina simps were telling people, you better watch A Woman is a Woman before August 1st, because it's going to be taken off. And I was like, I didn't follow that Criterion subreddit conversation, whatever that was, but apparently it happened.
Okay, so yeah, I've seen people talking about simps here in regards to this, and I go, whoa, like, what is mediocre here about Anna Karina?
Like, you're trying to find fault with
like
her?
what is like, it's like, you know, I think she'd be a pretty fine catch. I think people should be going the distance for Anna Karina. They should be simping for that. So I don't get it. Like, to me, I feel like it's an accurate use of the word simp, but it's the internet. Sure. So I the rules are different.
I didn't actually read the conversation, so I have no idea.
That's probably for the best.
Probably for the best. Do you simp for the guy?
No. These guys, I don't know. They're kind of shitbags, right?
So, for treatment of directors to actors, where do you stand on the Stanley Kubrick, Shelley Duvall situation?
Where do I fall on it?
Yeah, are you pro harassment? And,
No.
Oh my god.
some people, yeah, but there's all those people out there who are like, well, man, look at the performance he got out of her.
Well, see, that's another thing.
That's a whole different thing.
It's a whole other set of concerns, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's because like when Anna Karina died, what was it? Just like late last year?
I don't know.
Yeah. It was December of last year.
Okay.
So she died. There was like some like her relationship with like Godard. Like obviously, they benefited a lot from like working with one another. You could argue
Symbiote.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, Godard just seemed like not a. I mean, so they got divorced in '65. Just doesn't seem like not a very good partner, which is not what we're judging here on this podcast. But I do find it becomes important in the sense that like he's making this movie with her and about her, and it seems like he's in love with her. You can really tell from the way he shoots her, right? And then he's doing this subject matter about a stripper, which like, I mean, he's doing it in this kind of cute musical sort of way. Like he's like kind of like taking this like material and like presenting it in this fairly like love and life sort of approach. Does that seem accurate? But there's also like there's like there's like there's a critique there, but at the same time it's kind of like, well, it's okay because I know what I'm doing. But I'm like, do you? Does anyone actually know? But he seems like probably a man, and as this is a guy, RJ, he's still alive. He's not dead. He's still not dead.
Godard is still alive?
I know, amazing, right? Since the last time you thought he was dead, he still hasn't.
Like that goofy French lifestyle, I guess, is keeping these people alive.
It's all that butter.
Well, I mean, all they eat for meals is just a huge wheel of cheese. They just like hunk off a chunk and they eat it. That's every French person I've ever met. That's all they do. So
right,
has to be some truth to it, right?
So, yeah, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this movie because again,
how do you feel about the movie without that kind of subtext?
Again, it feels like a slight movie, right? Like it doesn't have like a lot of like substance, which is completely intentional. And like because the story is like this like very specific kind of story, and it's all about the telling of it and the presentation. Sure. The like I don't know, just like on pure aesthetics as filmmaking, it's a pretty great looking movie. Like it looks fucking gorgeous. Everyone's like at the prime of their lives. Everything looks cool. Everyone looks great. And you can see like why, color Godard's amazing. I love his color movies more than I like his black and white movies. Pretty well, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna throw it to you two, folks. What do y'all think of A Woman Is a Woman? Because this is the internet now, and I'm saying y'all.
That's a good accent, too. Frank, as special Patreon co-host, would you like to discuss A Woman Is a Woman, as Jarrett put it?
I would like to discuss.
Sure. Hit it, man.
Okay.
RJ's handing it off to you because he's a coward.
I'll speak before him. I just thought as a paid Patreon guest, I felt like you're welcome to talk about it if you want. If you want me to go first, I will too. It's up to you, bud. It's your day.
Well, I think Jarrett's pushing. He's pushing for it, so we might need to hear your take first.
My take?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't know any of this. This possessive Polanski-esque
it's not
Anna Karina type
no it's not quite like that, but
okay, well I'll keep it broad.
He's
and
like
then
he's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like Cassavetes. It's like people have been trying to get these guys for a long time, and it all depending on the moments. They're like, hey, maybe we really should consider, do we need Godard in our lives? And some people are like, yeah, they're fine to like wave it aside because he's like very much a Marxist. his like his post 68 revolutionary period where he's like stops really making movies at all. He's just making these film essays. But yeah.
It'd be like being a host to a globally recognized Criterion podcast and you just stop watching movies. You just make essays about the movies, you know?
Just make them.
Anyways, yeah, I'll speak to it a little bit, Frank, and then I'll give it to you, I guess, if that's what you want. I think it's, what's that phrase where it's 6 in one hand, half dozen another, or something like that? Do you know that phrase? That euphemism, Jarrett?
Nope.
No? Okay. So anyways, I think it's a catched bag. I think there is, as you pointed out, there's a lot of really good things about it. It does look great. Some of the color scenes are real nice. I do like the scene where she's doing her kind of like burlesque show, and it shows just the kind of projector of lights, and it's kind of rotating, and it's just light shining through.
Oh, and there's
it's
like there's this really brilliant moment where like the light turns over to the blue, just as when she's saying "I'm no angel," which is all Blue Angel film.
I got a screenshot for you, buddy, if you want it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that moment is great. I like that quite a bit. And then there's lots of little scenes like that I think are really well done. I like the jukebox scene when it's her and the dude sitting in the diner and they're not talking to each other. They're just listening to the song. I thought that was a really nice, quiet little moment. Kind of like the quiet, subtle moments in Frank's 2019 pick, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I thought that moment was kind of similar because it's just two people sitting there. They don't need to talk. It's just things that are happening. There's a lot of tension in that scene. So that scene's very good. I liked one of the scenes I thought was actually super funny was when dude is having a dart outside of the cafe and he's watching her apartment and people keep coming up to get a light off of his cigarette. I don't know why. I was just like, that's very relatable for me. You ever been the one guy with a lighter in a smoker's pit, Jarrett?
Nope, I have not.
It's a compromising position, let me tell you, buddy.
Especially in these days.
In these days, yes, it is. It is. You know, no, that's a story for a different day. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I like that scene. I thought it was relatable. So there's some really nice scenes like that, and I do think that there are some of the apartment scenes where they're kind of like doing their relationship stuff. I was like, this is relatable, and these are situations that I think are common to people who've been in relationships, like similar to things like that. So I was like, that's cool. I like that. The sound stuff, at first I thought I was having a stroke because like the sound was cutting in and out. And I was just like, is my copy of this movie not good? Because I was going to call you after I had a pretty tumultuous experience with this movie. I was messaging Jarrett for about an hour. I was like, what do I do? Because it was taken off of the channel, and I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I would have watched it last week. But anyways, so then the sound stuff was going on, and I was just like, what is happening with this? I was like, is this not right?
I didn't realize you were having that kind of difficulty.
I have difficulties, buddy.
Sounds like.
I was like, whatever, I'll give it 10, 15 minutes. And then I found that it was intentional, and I was like, oh. So I think you get a 50-50. There's some scenes I think the sound design is really well done, like when she's singing, and then there's some scenes where I thought it was a little bit like, I don't want to say like obnoxious, but it was a little bit too much for me, where I was like, this is a little too on the nose, like some of the winking at the screen stuff.
Well, I think there's times where you can actually hear the crew in the background.
Are we filming a movie right now? That kind of stuff.
No.
So I think the sound design and the kind of like the self-awareness of it, I think it's a mixed bag, because there's some scenes I think it's really well done, and then there's some scenes where I was kind of like, this is a little too much for me, but that's just my own personal preference to that. And then I do think, I think the tone is a little bit kind of like, I think it's mostly a comedy, but
yeah,
and like they do address, like I think near the end of the movie she kind of actually addresses it in that self-aware style where it's like she stuff, and it's like, I get it. Like, so that again? Makes where they're like in bed and she's like we're playful, but we're talking about serious stuff.
Mm.
So like I think that's kind of what the tone is trying to mimic in that sense, where it's like, yeah, people have serious things going on, but they can also joke about it. But I think sometimes it loses me a little bit. So for where I am, for A Woman is a Woman, despite my infamous misogyny, I didn't mind watching this female story for a little bit. I think it's good. There are a few things that I liked quite a bit, but there's also a few things that I didn't like. So it's like in the middle for me. I think it's a good show, but it's not one of my all-time bangers, and then that's okay, right, Frank? Because we're all entitled to our opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Which
I also want to mention too that one of the things that I was reminded of watching this, and I think it's just because like it's the like singer, like stripper or singer prostitute. I was thinking about Fassbinder's Lola, which is like a movie that's like also like I don't know. It's a very different type of movie because Fassbinder's like still kind of like going. He's telling like a typical movie. But it's also like the look of it and stuff like that. The entire approach of it's so different. But at the same time, I was like, connecting these things in my head, I guess, of someone who's trying to work toward what they want as a goal, and that's all in a way that's like it's Europe and beautifully shot.
Right.
No,
I think that's fair.
Sure, because it's my opinion. But
yeah.
So Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen A Woman is a Woman before today or this week?
I have.
Okay.
No, I can tell you. To me, it's a 5-star. Was it all-time banger?
Okay.
Banged me pretty hard, man.
Nice. Tell us about it.
Let me see. I think the first time I watched it, I think it was one of the first movies. Either it was one of the first movies I watched on the Criterion channel, or it's one of the last ones I watched on Filmstruck. It's been a while. Let me see. I'll try to look it up. But yeah, so I've seen it twice now. And as I was watching it this time, like I was recalling a lot of the moments, so it's pretty much stuck with me since the last time I watched it. Let's see here. Logged August. Oh no, was it? Yeah. Oh, so it was a whole year ago since I watched it. Okay. Yeah. So it was on. It should have been on the Criterion channel. Let me see my old review. 30 minutes into the movie, Anna Karina tells a guy, "Shut your face, or I'm going to slap it until you've no face left." That was my review.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that little bit of dialogue, kind of what I love about this movie. Because everybody who's a fan of this show, at some point, will learn that I'm a pretty big Wong Kar-wai fan, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if anybody looks up Wong Kar-wai, they'll find out that Wong Kar-wai has been accused of being sometimes style over substance, right? And so that's something that you guys have kind of touched upon here, is that this movie seems to be sometimes style over substance, where there's a lot of style, but maybe not enough story. And I think I'm one of these people that I can overlook it, depending on how charming the characters are, which, as we all know, Anna Karina is all charm.
Yeah.
And the way that it's shot and everything, all these elements together are enough for me to say that I really enjoy this movie, especially compared to some of Godard's heavier stuff, I guess. Yeah, there's something about it being like easygoing. I feel like this is one of those movies that, even though it is something that you kind of should be paying attention to, you can kind of have it on the periphery as well, and you just hearing it, even if you're not exactly understanding it, maybe you don't know French or whatever, even just hearing the sounds and the music and everything, there's a funny quality about it. There's a very like easygoing quality about it that I really enjoy. And I guess touching on the music and stuff, I think that in a way this was like Godard's most annoying trolling that he's done.
Yeah. Feels like
You
a
know,
young man. It feels like a young man's movie.
I think that's what makes it. You know, I'm a pretty young guy. I'm only a few years out of high school, so this kind of relationship type deal where it's just it seems like they're just nagging at each other constantly, but at the same time they're doing it in a way that's very childishly funny, I guess,
Mm.
or it reminded me of a lot of people that I knew a few years back that even though they consider themselves adults, as high school seniors, they consider themselves adults, but they were still in these kind of relationships where they would act like children that get angry over unnecessarily stupid things. So it seems very, especially for like a sophomore picture, uh, it feels very, very much like a young man's film. He was still
Well, yeah, it's a second feature film.
yeah, so he's still figuring himself out,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's still figuring out what his relationship is with Anna Karina. And so I think that really, there's a lot of things that you could discard just because it's such a simple plot and it's, there's not that much to it in a sense. But I think it's enough for me at least,
Mm.
just how easy going and how it's relatively dumb. It's like kind of a dumb movie, but at the same time, like it does hold something special for me. I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah.
Because I'm trying to think what year Charade came out for some reason, and because that movie like popped into my mind a few times. So Charade comes out 2 years later, and I think part of it is not so much like I mean you could probably like draw some like kind of a correlation between like Audrey Hepburn and Anna Karina, just because like they're like these like very like thin, pretty blonde or brunette women with like big like expressive eyes, and they're both in these
Big
like
what, Jarrett?
expressive eyes.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
that? Do you have a
Sorry,
problem with that? Is that some sort
No,
of
I
a
was just-
creepy thing to say?
I was just checking. Just checking.
Okay,
That's
so
all.
but so
Yeah,
they
continue.
both Charade and this have like this like pop sensibility. Like they're using like these primary colors, but like there's something about like there's like a camp quality. Where like there's like the thing where it's like at the end when she's in bed with her husband or her boyfriend and they kind of like flips over to like, oh, the lights went off and then the lights came back on and they have had sex and then they're like wah, wah, and you can always hear like imagining like it's like Cary Grant in her own bed or something like that. Like it has like that kind of like piffle of a quality to it where it's like, oh yeah, this is like this is such a situation that like it's very movie like, and like ultimately it's like he's making a homage to these like Gene Kelly musicals, and those are what those movies are. They're just like about like nothing of substance, I guess, ultimately, other than like they're about their form of like the musical. And so he's kind of making this thing where it's like, I'm going to strip it down. And a lot of the times these movies have like weird attitudes toward women where they're like, I want something and I'm going to go about it in this weird way to get what I want, to get my man to do something. And like, this is like behavior that like, when you watch these movies from the 40s, like every movie about these women are depicted that way. And so, I mean, 20 years later, you have this like French intellectual who's making these like film essays of like using the same idea, I guess, of like, he should be maybe ahead of that curve, but instead he's kind of embracing that trope, I guess, and leaning into it with the movie. But I'm like kind of like, I just find it such at odds with like what it could be. And it doesn't seem critical of that. It seems like he's okay with that, which is also again weird because this is also his wife that he's working with to do this story. I have no idea why this bothers me, or like it's kind of like sticks in my craw so much. But I just like
In your what, Jarrett?
craw.
Okay.
Do you not have a craw?
I'm unfamiliar with the term, so you might have to explain what that is.
The stomach of a person or animal.
Craw's stomach?
Yeah, it's like it's part of your. I don't know. So yeah, here we go.
I
Stick in
thought
one's
craw
craw
was a
to
bud or
cause
something.
considerable or abiding resentment, to rankle,
Huh.
or also stick in one's throat.
I legitimately thought craw was like a butt or something. So I was like, what are you doing over there, bud? Okay, my bad. Yeah, it sticks in your craw. Yeah, it seemed like a lot of this movie was maybe his own kind of therapy stuff where he's like, my wife, let me tell you.
Well,
You know-
so this is the thing,
you know?
right? Like you think about like Godard's probably like, maybe Aunt Karina wants to like do family stuff, and he's kind of like, no.
Yeah.
It's all about the only child I need is my art, baby. Like that's his mind reading projections of. But like I wonder, I'm like, yeah, that there's that element, and this is like a thing that does happen in a lot of men's movies when they're tackling women, especially when they start getting divorced from them like a few years later, and you go, oh yeah, and you're watching it live on screen playing out, and you're like, yep, here you go. 1960s dudes, even like the ones at the avant-garde, you're like, yeah, they're still there. It's still there now. But
What's about male bonding, Jarrett?
oh,
Have you seen Wild Hogs?
I have not.
Well. What were we talking about?
A woman is a woman. Une femme
yeah.
est une femme.
Do you have more things to add to that, Frank? As a big Godard boy?
Well, I wouldn't consider myself that big of a Godard boy.
Just this
'Cause,
one
I
in
mean,
particular?
Yeah, okay. I think when I think Godard, the first two that I always think that I've enjoyed the most, from his more comical tone films, there's this one as my favorite, and then the other one is how is it?
Viva San Louis.
Vivre
That's
sa
what it
vie.
is.
Those two I've always considered my favorites. I think I've seen them both twice. Whereas a few of the other ones I have to go back and rewatch.
Like
Consider maybe.
I think
Band
like
of Outside.
yeah, on a visual level, I think like 2 or 3 things I know about her really comes to mind. Like just like in that
Yeah.
use of primary colors and graphic design and telling the story. I think it's more successful there. But I mean, it's actually amazing like how many movies he made in like a 10-year window, and like just like how just how incredibly productive he was in making these movies, because like his turnaround on this stuff is so fast. But like because there's not like any like giant like projects that he's doing where it's like, oh, it's going to take me 3 years to make one of these.
Did it?
Take 3 years to make a movie?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. All right.
When I think of the movie, that really the biggest quality that always I think catches my eye is that pop. What you spoke of, that pop sensibility, the way this movie, despite being so simple, it's just everything that makes it what it is, all the colors and the charm and everything. Well, I guess mostly for the main character, because that's the thing. The male characters, they're just they're pricks, man.
Yeah. That's dudes, right?
But I think that's the weird thing about this movie, isn't it? Because it's, in a way, it feels like it should or it could be interpreted as a feminist inclined film, but at the same time, if Godard is supposed to be portrayed by these guys, these dudes, then like the way that they speak to her, or some of the answers they have for her, they're kind of old school. I mean, I guess that's something that has confused me about it, because in a way, yeah, he's kind of embracing the old Hollywood stuff. I think of all the little scenes that had callbacks, the only one that I picked up on my own was the whatever you can do, I can do better kind of deal. going on where they were doing the little poses.
Right.
Anna Karina and Belmondo. Yeah, so I guess in a way, these characters, these guys, they're supposed to be some. They seem to be like some mashup of there's the cool crime guys that Godard was watching for stuff like, I guess, Band of Outsiders and Breathless and Pierrot Le Fou, where it's these criminals, on the run, and they're supposed to be these tough guys. But at the same time, he's kind of in a way making his musical, and in the musicals, you got these kind of more energetic or more, not as tough guys. So it's weird because sometimes these characters, they'll play tough, and then sometimes the guy's arguing back, and he's trying to tell her something, and he's putting his toothbrush in his mouth and just sounding all scrambled and stuff. So I don't know how much of a feminist film this is in the sense that even though the female character is the focus, and how the males are portrayed as kind of these pricks, these bad dudes. It seems that that's kind of who Godard also was, because he wasn't, from the backstory, he isn't necessarily recognized for having treated women well, in his love life. So it's weird because
which has nothing to do with the art, just like William S. Burroughs.
It's very strange because there is that weird mishmash of how do you separate his real life from the art that he was making in this specific case, where it seems that the art that he was making was what he was living at the time, or what it seems it would be or would have been at the time.
Well, what do you think of William S. Burroughs, Frank?
Who dat?
He was a dude who killed his wife, but he wrote Naked Lunch, and then someone on YouTube told us to give him a break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was weird that someone would stand up for murder.
Yeah,
but I'm with you, buddy. Like I don't know. I didn't know any of that shit.
Well, I mean, you might.
I don't know anything ever.
Because so. I guess you don't remember Contempt, because that's like what it was about.
I think so, but I also didn't really like Contempt that much.
Well, because that movie's not very good, but but some people really like it, but I don't get it.
Dude, I don't remember the Creeps we did last week, let alone
Fair.
What, like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a mixed bag, but I'm glad you like it, Frank. It's like I said. I think there's definitely marks of really good filmmaking in there, and then there's just some stuff that doesn't work for me. But whatever, man. I'm what do I know? I gotta stick to Back to the Future. So, right? I don't know anything. Whatever. Whatever, dudes.
I don't know. This is one of those weird films where it seems so lighthearted that it kind of shouldn't be treated as art, and at the same time, that's what he was aiming for, was to make art. I don't know. I think if I remember correctly, I own the DVD. I managed to get it off of eBay, and if I remember, I think I'd put on one of the interviews with Anna Karina, and the way that she remembers the film, I think, is that, I'm not entirely sure. I think this was the one where she had a bit more liberty with her character, and I think that really shines through with the charm. At the risk of sounding like a Karina simp here, I think honestly, without her presence in this film, I don't think there'd be any real way to say that this is a good film, which is weird because I do like this movie a lot. But then again, I guess my 5-star rating of it doesn't necessarily mean it's one of the greatest of all time. I think it's just one of my favorite Godards out of his batch of films. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing I got going here for this one.
What if instead of Anna Karina, it was Aaron Eckhart? Do you think it would still be as good?
No. His chin throws me off.
Oof, that's tough, man. But all right, whatever you say, man. I'll trust you on that one. What if it was Data from Star Trek? Do you think it would still be as good?
I have no idea how Data looks.
He looks just like that. He says access denied because he's a
cut
computer.
off from my screen here.
Ah,
All I see is Jarrett on that side.
Bagul is always after me.
He's strong with us. So you chaps want to hear about who hates a woman as a woman?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So I think one of the first ones is like a half star. It says just yuck. But we'll just jump down to the next one. I think it's Chloe.
Okay.
Half a star. I hate Godard, but I'd only seen 2 films of his, so I wanted another to more fully justify my hatred. If that sounds like I was starting off with a negative bias, then that's right. I hate Godard, and I am not ashamed. There are a lot of small reasons. Mainly, I think he's insufferably smug. He really believes his own hype. I find his...
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess like that's in the context of like, I mean, this is a guy who's coming off hot of Carrera de Cinema, whatever the fuck is pronounced.
Of course.
So he's like,
yeah.
he's like this, like the boy who did Breathless and was like ripping up things, and he's like doing this. Like, it's if Chloe's talking about that, sure. And there is probably like a smugness to his film craft, the way that people talk about Wes Anderson movies being smug. Same, like there's just certain things that people are just going to bristle at. Okay, continuing on. I find his disdain for narrative galling. You can still tell a good story and imbue it with all that new wave freshness. See Truffaut, Chabrol, Varda, any other French new wave director, or they say here FNW director. A director that is so concerned with making you feel nothing is one who I'm going to have nothing but revulsion for. So big surprise, I hated this. All the characters were profoundly irritating. The fourth wall breaking made me want to smash Godard's head into a wall, and I just wanted it to end from about 5 minutes in. The end.
I mean, Chloe, that's an assault on Godard, eh? Hey, Jer.
Quite the issues.
What was I gonna say, man? So this person likes a lot of Criterion stuff, but then they also gave 5 stars to Hell or High Water. But the weird thing is they gave 1 star to Wind River, both by that Taylor Sheridan. Tyler, the hell's that guy's name? Taylor Sheridan. Yeah. So it's like, I wonder why one of them was a 5-star film and the other one was only a 1-star film, Jarrett. I'm not sure. They also gave La Dolce Vita 5 stars, which is not my fave. Not my fave at all. So, I mean, this person's reviews aren't too bad. You know? You know, they're not too bad. This person ain't bad. Ain't all that bad. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we've got Alex Proft, 1 star.
All right.
An improvement over Breathless only in that it's nicer to look at. Still obnoxious and self-indulgent to the point of ridiculousness. Of fucking course Godard would reference one of his own movies in a line of dialogue. What an unbearably smarmy cunt.
Whoa. Yowza. This person gave 5 stars to not just Funny Games, but the remake of Funny Games.
Nice. Okay, they're brilliant. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, but so it's weird. A lot of their 5 stars are like horror movies, like Session 9.
Ooh, that movie's not a 5-star movie.
But some of these are for the irony crowd, like Troll, The Room, Jason X, 5 stars. Jarrett, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, 5 stars. But they gave Tremors 5 stars. That's what our side project's going to be pretty soon. They also gave Breathless a half a star, so they really just don't like Godard.
Okay. Well,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? One more from Holly, 1 star.
Okay.
If you are ever thinking about watching this film, please just watch Lola from 1961. Instead, this is basically a hack, misogynistic version of a Jacques Demy film, and I hated it with every fiber of my being.
Pretty strong words. This person's is down with the Frank picks. 5 stars to Pain and Glory. 5 stars for In the Mood for Love. Not a Frank pick, but this person and the last person gave 5 stars to Big Little Lies, that TV show that's not a movie but is on Letterboxd for some reason. Jarrett. They also gave 5 stars to Chungking Express, Spirited Away, all sorts of good stuff. To be fair, let's go to their half-star films. Let's see what they got in that one, Jer. The Mummy, Sausage Party, something called Hillary on Hillary Clinton. I don't know. These aren't the worst takes. Half-star Billy Madison. Get out of here. It's a good show.
And any thoughts on these careful considerations, Frank?
I don't know. It's weird, right? I kind of agree on some of these takes on Godard himself, the person. But at the same time, I don't know. There's something about the movie. Again, I think it might be Anna Karina. Am I a simp? Is that the real question here? Is that what we should all be asking?
Well, Jarrett pretty much flat out said at the start that he thinks more people should simp for Anna Karina. So...
But I think it's bull. That's not even simping.
But I think the big question here, Jarrett, is what is a simp, and when is a Criterion movie going to come out on it?
Well, I guess like some people would say it's a silly or foolish person, but I think that people don't mean it that way. It's like I've heard some. Let's see here. Simp is a slang insult for men who are seen as too attentive and submissive to women. Okay, especially out of a failed hope of winning some entitled sexual attention or activity from them. I mean, but isn't the whole thing like her boyfriend like is kind of like a typical dude who like doesn't care that she's there, and then some other guys like, yeah, I'll get you pregnant. So I mean,
they'll do what?
They'll get them pregnant.
Okay.
But I've also heard some refer to it as was it mid? I can't remember. I've seen what SIMP actually stood for, but I'm not finding it here.
Well, in a conversation I had off air with Oliver Granger, he said he was a simp for SJW kink, and I don't know what that means.
Oh my god.
But I mean, yeah, Frank, I think it's fine to simp for Anna Karina. She's a cool lady.
This is
cool lady.
The New York Times has an article behind a pay window about what does simp mean, and there's some talk about men's rights and misogyny in TikTok. So we're right on. Right on.
We're just right on, buddy.
No.
We're just right on. Well, good for us as a collective.
Yeah, right in the toilet. The scummy toilet. Yeah, any final thoughts on A Woman is a Woman in our expert breakdown and discussion, analysis of this Godard masterpiece?
I like that Criterion cover. It's a nice cover. The bubbles.
It's cool.
Oh, the circles? Is that the one? Or is that the regular poster?
They reused the Parasite, and I'm not too happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That Parasite blue. Like, it's like what's the like? There's a 4K of it. So like, why would you? Unless you really want those special features.
Mm-hmm.
How special are they going to be, though, Jer?
I don't even know if have they announced those things. I guess they do usually.
Oh.
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
In a world where no one knows anything.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. I just hope they don't change that cover when they finally upgrade it. Like
they will. Don't you worry.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be a downgrade.
They screwed me over with Pierre LeFou, but I think I got the better deal. My cover looks better. It's nicer.
It is a nice cover. I really like that cover.
There you go.
After the break,
yeah,
we're all going to get pregnant.
Why not?
Why not? Have ourselves.
You did what?
Have some butt babies.
Excuse me, Jarrett?
What is that? Explain.
I don't know.
There's nothing to explain.
I don't know, dude.
Like
how else would we have babies?
This isn't some kind of Canadian thing. I have no idea what he's talking about.